Hello and welcome to TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. The build-up in the Champions League is back. The second leg is getting upon us now. Barcelona heading to Anfield with a 3-0 aggregate lead in the Champions League semi-finals. We are on the cusp here of the Champions League finals, and that is massive. That is absolutely crucial for us. That's exactly where we wanted to be, and it's the perfect position for us. But we have to see through the job. That is the main thing here, and that is what this first video, this first build-up here is all about. We must not let this slip. We cannot make any mistakes. We cannot take our foot off the gas. There's no doubt about that. We have got to fully apply ourselves, be fully committed, and see this job through. And in today's video, because of all the talk, particularly from Liverpool fans, they believe they could turn this game around. They believe Barcelona could once again fall, just like we did in Rome. I'm going to tell you now, that will not happen. In this video, I'm going to be explaining why Barcelona are not going to recreate Roma 2.0 at Anfield. It will not happen. We will not allow it. Because it's not just Liverpool fans who are coming out and saying, look, we can turn this around. Barcelona are vulnerable. We've seen it against Roma. They can certainly blow leads in this competition. It's also Barcelona fans. Some people obviously are sceptical. I can fully understand that. We have to sort of look at what we have done. We've looked at the past. We have seen that we've fallen before. But I can assure you, the players, and most importantly here, the coach, have learned from that. That is the main thing here. We have evolved. We have learned from our mistakes. Because obviously when something like Roma happens, it's catastrophic. It's absolutely soul-destroying, but at the same time, you learn from that. You draw from those experiences, you act on them, and then you evolve as a person, and certainly here, as professionals. And I think certainly in terms of Ernesto Valverde and all of the Barcelona players, we have learned in terms of our approach, and also in terms of the key decisions that we're making at this stage of the season. Valverde has certainly evolved. He has certainly tried new things. He's implemented different tactics. He's done things differently right throughout the season so far. You can see that in his man management, and in particular, his management of very key Barcelona players at very important moments. The likes of Messi in particular has been rested in very key moments. He's always had a good dialogue between Messi and himself. They've always been talking about how they can get the best out of him, and certainly this season, he's been rested when he's needed to, and that has gone for several of our key players. And that's a really, really important aspect here. It's about arriving into these massive games, the Champions League quarterfinals, then the Champions League semi-finals. It's about arriving to those games in the best physical condition, in the best mental condition you possibly can. And I believe this time around, as opposed to Rome, back in April it was, of 2018, I believe now, heading into May, we are in much, much better condition. Our entire squad is much more ready here for the challenge we have ahead of us. Because let me just show you this, and I know, guys, you all know about this game. It was a massive moment in Rome, and it didn't even happen in Rome. It happened before the game even began. 3 days before, Barcelona against Leganes. We were clear in the league, we were at the top of the league, but there was no reason to do this, but still, Ernesto Valverde started with this lineup 3 days before the Roma's second leg. Ter Stegen, Semedo, Piqué, Vermaelen, Roberto, Rakitic, Gomez, Dembele, Messi, Coutinho, Suarez. 8 out of those 11 players there then went on to play 3 days later in Rome, and they look flat. They look lifeless, they look energyless, they look like they couldn't be out there, they couldn't give their all. And also in this game, coming off the bench, Andres Iniesta, Jordi Alba. He used nearly every single one of the starting players in Rome just 3 days before here against Leganes at the Camp Nou. You compare and contrast that to what happened this weekend against Celta Vigo. Every single one of the 11 players who played against Liverpool in the first leg, they were rested. And most importantly, not only rested, not just on the bench, many of them not even in the squad. They didn't even travel to Vigo. They didn't even step foot on that plane. They've been with their families, they've been at home, they've been relaxing, they've been recuperating, they've been restoring all of that energy to get ready for that second leg against Liverpool. And it's an entirely different situation. You're going to see an entirely different team step on that field there at Anfield to the lifeless, drained team that we saw in Rome. And it's not only that either. Roma, last season, they were gunning for the Champions League. They were nowhere near the Serie A title race. Of course, they wanted to try and get in the top 4, but the Champions League, they put all their eggs in that basket. They tried to come back, and obviously, they did manage it. Now compared to Liverpool, on the weekend, while we rested every single one of the players who played in that game, they did not. This is the team they started against Newcastle, and you can see it there. They did not rotate. Every single one of those players out there are trying to win the Premier League title. They're also trying trying to focus on that, they're trying to balance the two, and they are still in the Premier League title race. And even in our game on Tuesday, they're still going to be thinking in the back of their minds about that game that coming weekend against Wolverhampton, which could be massive in the Premier League title race. So Liverpool there, not rotating their players, not resting their players, not giving them a chance to recover from what was a massively draining game at the Camp Nou. They'd gone to another game there. It was a tough game as well against Newcastle, and Liverpool there, certainly, we are going to have the psychological, the mental, and the physical advantage. And the other thing about our collapse to Roma, and I think the very big common misconception is the fact that it was just this one-off game, that Roma happened to just turn it around, they managed to play Barcelona off the park, and it was one of those things that could happen at any moment, at any time, to any team. Any team there could have come and given Barcelona that one-off shock. But that's the thing, it wasn't a one-off. Roma was not a one-off game. We genuinely all saw it coming. And you can remember in my match review, yes, it was shocking, it was a depressing night, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it wasn't that much of a shock. We all saw that kind of game coming right throughout the season. We'd stuttered along, we were falling at the hurdles, we were struggling, physically certainly. The aging team that we had was really struggling, and we all saw that Roma game panning out the way it was when we went 1-0 down, then 2-0 down, and then we all knew that third goal was inevitable. This season, I see it as a completely different story. Right now, we've been much more consistent, particularly in the big games this season. Valverde has got it right. We've won our games. We've been comfortable. We've been very organised. And I think specifically, we've been a lot more focused on this competition. In the words of Messi himself, we are determined to win this Champions League title. And I think you've seen that right the way through the season, in the way that we applied ourselves, in the way that we played every single Champions League game. We have been on it. And of course, in our 5 knockout round games so far, we have conceded just 1 solitary goal. We have been focused. And another thing, when Liverpool fans are saying, look, we can look to Roma, we can do exactly the same thing as they did to Barcelona. It's very important to note here that Roma actually got themselves an away goal. Roma may have lost the game 4-1, but it was still a significantly better result than Liverpool's 3-0 loss at the Camp Nou, simply because of that away goal they scored. That meant that, of course, in Roma, at Stadio Olimpico, they needed to win 3-0 to win the tie outright and go through. If Liverpool win 3-0, we've got extra time. Liverpool undoubtedly have to do more than Roma, and that shouldn't be forgotten. But having said that, I think Barca, in general, looking at that Roma game, after scoring 4 goals in the first leg, they felt they'd done enough. It was extremely naive, it was not good enough, but they felt like they'd done enough to go through. And Roma are a very good side, they're certainly a strong outfit, but they're not one of Europeans' elite. They're not a team that strikes fear into every single opposition they play, and for that reason, Barcelona took their foot off the pedal. They believed they'd won the game, they went to Roma, and they were naive, and believe me, we were punished for it. I can guarantee you, 1,000,000,000%, Barcelona will not take their foot off the gas against Liverpool. We respect them, we understand the threat. The only way we lose this tie is lack of motivation. The only way we lose this is lack of focus. We will not let that happen. Not after Roma. We will not make that same mistake twice, and especially against a team like Liverpool. We know their quality, we know that we're going to have to turn up. Anfield is a fortress, especially on European nights. We know we're going to have to arrive there and really play to get through this game, and I actually think that Anfield atmosphere, the famous Anfield European atmosphere, I believe it'll work in our favour. And the reason for that is, our players will arrive at the stadium, they'll see the fans outside, they'll see the flags, they'll see the atmosphere, and they will know within seconds of arriving there in Liverpool, they are still in a match, they're still in a contest. They'll realise, hey, we're in the Champions League semi-final. This is a massive game. Even though we're 3-0 up, this is still huge. At the Stadio Olimpico, I thought it was very interesting, the atmosphere on the night. Obviously, Roma fed off that atmosphere, but for Barcelona, with that running track around it, with the fans so far away from the field, it was kind of eerie. It kind of made me feel like the players were even more lifeless because of that stadium. It was very strange atmosphere on the night. But with Anfield, it's an entirely different proposition. It's tied to the pitch, you'll hear the fans, you'll hear that noise, it'll be a huge atmosphere. Obviously, they'll be behind Liverpool, but still, even as Barcelona players, you rise to those occasions. The players won't be allowed to switch off, and believe me, they were never going to do that. But one of the biggest things, without a doubt, going into this game is all about our squad. Ernesto Valverde, in his first season, I believe, had a core of players in that team that he believed in, and outside of that, he never wanted to use them. His bench was hardly ever used. Obviously, he didn't rotate. In that Roma game, the big thing for us was we never never changed. Not after 1-0, not after 2-0, not even after 3-0. We never really changed our shape, we never really used our bench, and we couldn't change the momentum of that game. Against Liverpool, we have options right throughout this team. We have a bench full of star-studded quality. We've got players like Vidal, who can come into this team, who will start the game and give us an entirely different mentality, an entirely different attitude. He himself will convey the message here that want to lead the team. Piqué will lead the team. He is in the form right now of his career. Jordi Alba, players like that enjoying their best seasons. We right now are on much, much better form, and we have a much deeper squad. Valverde there has a full squad of players to choose from. He's got his starting 11 that can be set to defend, and as you saw in the games against United, in the games against Liverpool, if we sit back now, we have the players to deal with that threat. But if we go forward, we have players on that bench to impact the game in an attacking sense. If we're looking for a goal, we're not going to be bringing on Andre Gomez this time. We're not going to be bringing on an out of favour and out of form Paco Alcácer. We have players coming on here who are good, quality professionals, high quality players who feel trusted, who have played their part throughout the season, and I just believe going into this game, there are so many more things in our favour. We're an entirely different team now. We have a squad of players who are more focused than they ever have been, and most importantly, at the helm, a coach who has learned, who has evolved, and I guarantee you, we will see that against Liverpool. We must be in the final. So that is just my thoughts there on all the people who think that Barcelona will make the same mistake twice. We will not let that happen. We cannot let that happen. And of course, in the coming day or so, there's going to be a lot more build-up. There's going to be a lot more focus on the tactics, of course, what we must do in this kind of game to get out, to pose a threat, to get that away goal, which will all but end the threat of Liverpool. I'm going to be coming up with that very, very soon indeed. Thank you, as always, for watching, guys. Please leave your thoughts and your comments down below. I'll see you soon. The build-up, it started. It's begun. This is our time. Visca El Barça.